Welcome to WatchMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 100 useless facts about America. If you picked up any random tidbits about the USA in history class, share your insight in the comments. When preacher William Miller predicted that Jesus would return in 1844, some of his followers left their jobs and sold their properties. Miller's inaccuracy sparked the Great Disappointment. Teddy Roosevelt advocated carrying a big stick, but his youngest son Quentin enjoyed walking on stilts through the Rose Garden. 16 months into his presidency, Zachary Taylor died from stomach disease. Historians debate what caused this, but it may have been the cherries and iced milk Taylor ate at a July 4th celebration days earlier. In 1799, Loyalist William Augustus Bowles attempted to establish a sovereign nation in Florida called the State of Muskogee. Bowles named himself Director General and Commander-in-Chief, but his reign ended in 1803 following his capture. More than 6,000 Americans died in battle during the Revolutionary War, but over an estimated 10,000 neglected Americans died on prison ships during this period. The U.S. usually gets a new president every 4 or 8 years or so. On 24, the job is a revolving door, with 11 different individuals holding the position throughout the show's 9-season run.
But it is my sincere belief that based upon his response to today's events, David Palmer is unfit to continue as President of the United States.
The Centralia mine fire broke out in 1962, and it's still burning beneath the Pennsylvania borough over 60 years later. Whittier, Alaska is known as a town under one roof, since almost every resident lives in the Begich Towers. POTUS is a deadly gig. While in office, 4 have died from natural causes and 4 were assassinated. At least another 15 have been linked to assassination attempts or plots. The average American throws away almost 5 pounds of trash a day. Since 2011, an estimated 2/3 of US $100 bills are located outside of the country. Despite being a New York landmark, the Statue of Liberty is technically closer to the shoreline of New Jersey. The California grizzly bear became the state's official animal in 1953, although this subspecies of brown bear has been extinct since 1924. Based on a one-poll study, the average American possesses more than $54,000 worth of debt. A 21-year-old Abraham Lincoln became his country's wrestling champion. Fast forward to 1992, Honest Abe officially entered the National Wrestling Hall of Fame.
We like to say wrestling is life, and he wrestled with life.
Uncle Sam is based on Samuel Wilson, an American meat packer. So we guess Uncle Sam wants you to pack his meat? Before George Washington's portrait was on the $1 bill, Secretary of the Treasury Salmon P. Chase had his mug plastered on the dollar to raise his profile. Got milk? California does, being the country's top dairy producer. According to Forbes Advisor, Texas is the U.S. state with the worst drivers, while the best can be found in Washington, D.C. The Empire State Building is so big that it has its own zip code, 10118. Competing in NASCAR comes with several requirements, but a state driver's license isn't one of them. According to the National Institute of Food and Agriculture, Idaho, Iowa, Kansas, Montana, Nebraska, North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, and Wyoming all have more cows than humans. The Hoover Dam has enough concrete to construct a 2-lane highway between San Francisco and New York. The crack in the Liberty Bell isn't its only imperfection. Pennsylvania is spelled Pennsylvania, with one N missing. It's also spelt like this in the U.S. Constitution. Lake Superior has enough water to flood North and South America with a depth of 1 foot. With nearly 8.5 million residents, more people live in New York City than in almost 80% of all U.S. states. Longview, Washington has a bridge specifically for squirrels. It's called the Nutty Narrows Bridge. The U.S. purchased Alaska from Russia for $7.2 million in 1867. That's around $150 million today. If you want to hunt a unicorn in Michigan, you'll need to get a license from Lake Superior State University.
See that? That's unicorn blood, that is. I found one dead a few weeks ago.
There are over 150,000 hotel rooms in Las Vegas, meaning it would take over 400 years to spend the night in each one of them. Only 2 U.S. states don't follow daylight saving time: Arizona and Hawaii. There's a limestone Darth Vader grotesque at the Washington National Cathedral. There are almost 2,600 U.S. national landmarks, but only 2 of them move: New Orleans' St. Charles streetcar line and San Francisco's Clay Street cable car line. Jimmy Carter had solar panels added to the White House, although Ronald Reagan had them removed in 1986. If Texas was a separate country, it would be among the world's 10 largest economies by gross domestic product. The Denver International Airport is 2 times bigger than Manhattan Island. In 1893, Representative Lucas M. Miller suggested changing the country's name to the United States of the Earth. His proposed amendment didn't pan out. There's a monument commemorating the future birthplace of Captain James T. Kirk in Riverside, Iowa. Don't miss the delivery on March 22nd, 2228. 89-year-old Elsie Eiler is the only resident of Monoway, Nebraska, serving as its mayor, librarian, and bartender, among other things.
I'm not here because I have to be. I could close up and leave here anytime I wanted, go wherever I wanted.
Some U.S. states list English as their official language, but the country as a whole actually doesn't have one. Although the Declaration of Independence was officially published on July 4, 1776, the Lee Resolution for Independence was passed 2 days earlier, leading some to believe July 2nd would become an American holiday. Where most countries write the day, followed by the month and year, the U.S. is among the few that subscribe to the month, day, year format. Juan Ponce de Leon helms the first documented European expedition to Florida, arriving in 1513. In 1914, Cleveland, Ohio received the world's first electric traffic signal. The U.S. has one of the world's most diverse climates, covering everything from tropical to polar regions. You have to be at least 18 to rent a car in most U.S. states, although if you're under 25, there may be additional fees and regulations attached. In America, football is generally referred to as soccer, while American football is called, well, football.
A team I coach, they're going to play hard for all 4 quarters, okay?
2 halves.
What's that?
2 halves.
Okay, halves.
A series of silent shorts called Monkey Shines are believed to be the first films shot in the States. The White House got its first Christmas tree during Franklin Pierce's presidency in the 1850s. Hawaiian pizza wasn't invented in Hawaii or even the US. The Greek-born Sam Panopoulos first broke out the pineapples while living in Chatham, Ontario in 1962.
Tried to make some pizza, and then along the way, threw some pineapples on it, and nobody liked it at first, but after that they went crazy about it.
Robert G. Heft was 17 when he designed the current U.S. flag with 50 stars. Heft claims that it started as a school project he got a B- on, although historians call that part into question. Until her death in May 2020, Irene Triplett was the last American to collect a Civil War pension, which amounted to $73.13 per month. The only U.S. president to serve more than 2 terms, Franklin D. Roosevelt, held office for 4 from 1933 to 1945. Girl Scout leader Loretta Scott Crew is credited for inventing s'mores in the 1920s, although originally they were called some more.
I haven't had anything yet, so how can I have some more of nothing? Shut up! You're killing me, Smalls.
The Supreme Court building has its own basketball court, earning the name Highest Court of the Land. It's widely believed that the Iroquois Confederacy helped inspire the U.S. Constitution. Sacagawea embarked with Lewis and Clark just 2 months after giving birth to her son, Jean-Baptiste Charbonneau, who accompanied his mother on the expedition. While George Washington lost many of his teeth, they weren't substituted with wooden ones. Instead, metal, ivory, and even other people's teeth were used as replacements.
We also know that those dentures were made from the teeth of enslaved people.
Mustangs are a symbol of the western U.S., although they were imported to North America by the Spanish. The Hollywood sign is protected by its own nonprofit trust fund, which was formed in 1978, the same year it was rebuilt. You're inclined to find red Solo cups at American parties, but not necessarily at parties around the world. Through Grapes of Wrath author John Steinbeck, U.S. Route 66 became known as the Mother Road. Independence, Missouri used to have a hair museum named after cosmetology teacher Leila Cahoon. At one point, Joe Simon considered naming Captain America Super American, but he figured there were enough superheroes with super in their title. Ohio was retroactively declared the 17th U.S. state in 1953. In 1953, the first McDonald's restaurant with the iconic Golden Arches was built in Phoenix, Arizona. In 1986, it was replaced with an Arby's. Today, it's Yoshi's Restaurant. Typically, female bald eagles are 1/3 larger than males. U.S. farmers grow roughly 19 million acres of corn annually. That's twice the size of Oklahoma. In the country song Where Were You When the World Stopped Turnin', Alan Jackson professes that he doesn't know the difference in Iraq and Iran 3 times.
I watch CNN, but I'm not sure I can tell you the difference in Iraq and Iran.
The Broadway play Moose Murders opened and closed at the Eugene O'Neill Theater on the same date, February 22nd, 1983. Levi Spear Parmley, a New Orleans dentist, invented dental floss. American manufacturer John Deere had 9 kids. In the 1920s, Ellis F. Stenman used newspapers as insulation for his house. The paper house still stands in Rockport, Massachusetts. Christopher Sell of Rugby, England, brought the deep-fried Twinkie to America in the early 2000s.
It's like a cinnamon donut with a Twinkie inside. It's absolutely delicious.
Originating from Cincinnati, Ohio, Play-Doh was sold as a wallpaper cleaner before it was a plaything. In America, Thanksgiving takes place on the 4th Thursday of November, but this wasn't tradition until 1863 under Abraham Lincoln's presidency. Barbie and Ken are from Willows, Wisconsin. Creator Ruth Handler based them on her children, Barbara and Kenneth. Everglades National Park is the only place on Earth where wild alligators and crocodiles coexist. In 2014, it was reported that chickens outnumber Delaware's residents more than 200 to 1. Pogo started as a comic strip in 1948. In 1992, the titular character was adopted as Georgia's official state possum. Samoset was the first American Indian to approach the Pilgrims. He said, "Welcome, Englishmen," and asked for beer. Cawker City, Kansas is home to the largest ball of twine. The North Loop is considered the popcorn capital of Nebraska. A thief attempted to steal George Washington's skull from his grave. They accidentally took one belonging to one of Judge Bushrod Washington's in-laws. New Mexico has an official state question: red or green, referring to chilies. Texas is bigger than any European country. The world's largest cranberry festival takes place in Warrens, Wisconsin.
The population, just 360. But one fall weekend each year, the place looks big when 150,000 people join Warrens for Cranfest.
Wyoming has just 2 escalators, both in Casper. The Paleobiology database has recorded almost 2,000 dinosaur fossils in California, more than any other state in the U.S. Lollipops were invented by George Smith from New Haven, Connecticut in 1908. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Before he was POTUS, Gerald Ford was a model, working for the John Robert Powers and Harry Conover agencies. President Herbert Hoover's personal physician, Joel T. Boone, created a medicine ball game naturally called Hoover Ball.
Object is simple. Toss a 4-pound medicine ball back and forth over an 8-foot net on a typical volleyball court.
Ulysses S. Grant is the only president to be arrested while in office. The crime? Speeding in a horse-drawn carriage. Bill Clinton's cat almost had a Super Nintendo game, Socks the Cat Rocks the Hill. Failing to meet its 1993 release date, the platformer was cancelled, but the prototype was made public in 2018. Apparently, Richard Nixon loved himself some cottage cheese mixed with ketchup. George H.W. Bush thought about making Clint Eastwood his vice president. We've heard crazier things.
I gotta tell you before you hire me, I don't work cheap.
Harry Truman might have received a turkey, but he didn't pardon one. Prior to his presidency, Grover Cleveland was a sheriff, which entailed carrying out hangings. On October 17, 1984, Ronald Reagan wrote about Drew Barrymore in his diary, calling her a nice little person. David Beckham sent Barack Obama 50 pairs of boxers from his underwear line.
He is tough. In fact, it is a rare man who can be that tough on the field and also have his own line of underwear.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.